September 7th, 1940, late afternoon, above the River Thames, London. The air raid sirens had just begun their mournful wail, a sound becoming sickeningly familiar. But this time, the drone of approaching aircraft was different, heavier, more numerous, a menacing thrum against the late summer sky. Beneath the nascent pall of smoke rising from the east docks, where the first bombs were already beginning to fall, a nation stood on the precipice of obliteration. France had fallen, its mighty armies crushed, its spirit broken. The miracle of Dunkirk, though a testament to courage, was a receding memory, replaced by the grim reality of a continent dominated by the crimson and black of the swastika. Britain, alone, a small island nation adrift in a sea of totalitarian power, braced for the inevitable invasion. Its southern coastlines bristling with makeshift defenses, its skies a desperate battleground. The Battle of Britain raged overhead, a titanic aerial duel fought by the few against the Luftwaffe's seemingly less legions, a fight for sheer survival that consumed the daylight hours. But even as the Spitfires and Hurricanes clawed for air superiority, a new terror descended from the darkening heavens. This very evening, a new, more sinister phase of the war began, the indiscriminate, systematic bombing of British cities. London, the ancient heart of an empire, was being ruthlessly targeted. Its homes, its cherished institutions, its people, its very spirit, subjected to a brutal, sustained assault from the air. The fires that would soon illuminate the night sky were not merely destructive. They were a psychological weapon designed to shatter a people's will, to force capitulation through terror. In the hushed, cavernous operations rooms buried deep beneath the ground, the maps glowed with the stark, merciless reality of the unfolding tragedy. Prime Minister Churchill's defiant words, a bulwark against despair, echoed through every wireless set, every cinema, every home. But defiance alone could not win the war. Something more was needed, something visceral, something immediate, something to demonstrate unequivocally that Britain, though wounded and beleaguered, was not broken. Something to show Hitler in the most direct way possible that his terror would be met with an equal, if not greater, resolve. The strategic landscape was bleak. An amphibious invasion across the Channel seemed imminent, almost inevitable. The only way to take the fight directly to the enemy, to disrupt their burgeoning industrial might, to strike at the very heart of their power and prestige, was from the air. Berlin, the capital of the Third Reich, a polished, imposing symbol of Nazi triumphalism, seemed an almost mythical target. It lay deep within enemy territory, heavily defed by flak guns and night fighters. An incredibly long and dangerous journey for any aircraft of the era. To strike Berlin was not just a military operation, it was a psychological counterblow waiting to happen, a vital boost to Allied morale across the world, a tangible sign of resistance to the subjugated peoples of occupied Europe. It was an act of audacious defiance, a desperate gamble, but one deemed absolutely essential in this, Britain's darkest hour. The aircraft available for such a daunting task were, by modern standards, rudimentary. Many were older designs, converted from other roles, or pressed into service prematurely. Most were designed for coastal patrol or medium-range bombing against closer targets in France or the Low Countries. Not a grueling, 8-hour round trip deep into the Reich. They were slow, lightly armed, and incredibly vulnerable to the increasingly sophisticated German night fighter defenses and dense anti-aircraft barrages. Yet amongst the aging Hampton's Whitleys and Wellington bombers, a new breed of heavy bomber was beginning to emerge, some still in their testing phases, others just rolling off the assembly lines, promising greater range, heavier payloads, and the crucial ability to fly higher and faster than their predecessors, offering a desperately slim margin of safety against the formidable German defenses. These machines, often developed in secrecy and pushed into service before their full capabilities were truly understood, were Britain's only long-range hammer. Their crews, often barely out of their teens, were flying into an unknown future, into a night bristling with danger, guided by rudimentary navigation equipment, sheer courage, and the faint hope of returning home. The initial raids on Berlin were not expected to be decisive militarily in themselves. They were designed to be a declaration, a thunderclap in the oppressive silence of occupation, a message sent directly to Hitler's bunker, a stark reminder that even in the darkest night, defiance could still take wing. As the fires of the London Blitz raged, illuminating the unwavering resolve of a besieged nation, the orders were given. The decision was made to retaliate, to strike back at the perceived source of the terror, to prove that even in isolation, Britain could reach out and touch the heart of its tormentor. The stage was set for a series of incredibly risky missions that would push both man and machine to their absolute limits. Missions that would define the early strategic bombing campaign and lay the groundwork for the future of aerial warfare. The call to Berlin had been issued. It was a call of desperation, of defiance, and of an unyielding will to survive. November 14th, 1940, in the bleak pre-dawn darkness of an English airfield, a chill wind carried the scent of aviation fuel and nervous anticipation. The air crews, hunched figures against the flickering lights of the operations room, listened intently to the final briefing. The target was Berlin, the heart of Hitler's Germany, a city until recently considered untouchable. Tonight, they would touch it. For many, this was their first foray into the depths of enemy territory, a journey into a darkness far more profound than the absence of light. Their machines, these workhorses of the night, stood waiting on the perimeter track, engines cold, bomb bays heavy with the meager yet symbolic payloads of early war. Each aircraft, a testament to British ingenuity and grit, was a complex beast of metal, fabric, and ambition, designed for endurance but inherently vulnerable. Its powerful twin engines, while robust, were also its glaring weakness, a potential magnet for flak. Its modest defensive armament was often little more than a psychological comfort, and its navigation equipment, while cutting edge for its time, was still prone to the whims of weather and the vast unlit expanse below. The tension was palpable as they clambered aboard, settling into their cramped stations. The pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, wireless operator, and gunners, each a cog in a desperate, audacious machine. The ground crew, their faces grim, gave final thumbs up, their own unspoken prayers for safe return echoing in the roar of the warming engines. One by one, the bombers taxied out, their navigation lights blinking briefly before being extinguished, plunging them into utter darkness. Then, with a shuddering surge of power, they lifted off, lumbering into the frigid night air, heavily laden with high explosives and the hopes of a nation. The climb was slow, agonizing. Below, England receded into a patchwork of dim lights, soon swallowed by the Channel's black expanse. Above, only stars and the occasional moon, offering little comfort or guidance. Hours bled into one another, a monotonous drone broken only by the crackle of the intercom and a navigator's whispered corrections. The cold was a constant companion, seeping into bones, dulling senses. Flashes of lightning and distant cloud banks seemed to mock their solitude. Then, the first signs of the Reich's awakening, clusters of searchlights, like spectral fingers, began to probe the darkness far ahead, a shimmering, ominous curtain. They were nearing the target. Adrenaline, a sharp jolt, cut through the fatigue. Berlin was waking up, not to a new day, but to a terrifying night. Suddenly, the night erupted. White-hot cones of light skewed the sky, crisscrossing, searching, finding. Flak, initially distant thuds, quickly became a terrifying percussive symphony of crackling shrapnel and bursting shells, painting the blackness with malevolent orange blossoms. The aircraft bucked and shuddered, an angry beast fighting for its life. The crew, their eyes wide and strained, scanned desperately for fighters, for gaps in the inferno. The pilot wrestled with the controls, trying to maintain altitude and course, a dance of survival amidst the deadly chaos. The bombardier, his face pressed against the Norden bomb site, adjusted furiously, his voice tight, counting down. Steady, steady, he called, the very air vibrating with the concussions. Then, a lurch. The bombs were away, plunging into the inferno below, a fleeting sense of release, instantly replaced by the desperate scramble for safety. They turned, weaving through the maelstrom, the flak still relentless, now chasing their tail. The return journey was often as perilous as the approach. Damaged engines sputtered, hydraulics bled, and the wounded cried out. Exhaustion, cold, and the raw aftermath of terror settled deep within each man. Navigation back across the North Sea was a test of endurance, skill, and sheer will. Many limped home, their aircraft scarred but intact, their crews traumatized but alive. Others simply vanished, swallowed by the darkness, their silent disappearance a stark reminder of the mission's brutal cost. These early raids, often small in scale, did not inflict decisive material damage on Berlin, yet their impact resonated far beyond mere tonnage of bombs. They were acts of symbolic defiance, a profound psychological blow against an enemy that believed itself impervious. They proved that Britain, battered and isolated, could still reach out and touch the very heart of the Reich, sowing doubt and fear where only confidence had reigned. Each daring flight, fraught with unimaginable danger, etched the resolve of a nation onto the wartime narrative, forging the template for the strategic bombing campaigns that would follow. The aircraft, an instrument of this unyielding will, carried not just bombs, but the unyielding spirit of freedom, a testament to the courage of those who flew it, through the flak and darkness into the crucible of history. February 20th, 1944, 7:15 a.m. at RAF Upwood, the first faint drone on the horizon grew into the unmistakable roar of straining engines. Through the lingering pre-dawn mist, the silhouette of a Lancaster bomber, battered and scarred, emerged from the gray eastern sky. It was one of the few lead aircraft, signaling the return of the spearhead of the night's audacious mission against Berlin. Each aircraft that staggered home carried the visible wounds of its encounter with the Reich's defenses. Jagged holes in fuselages, engines sputtering, hydraulic lines severed. But still, they came. The crews, their faces etched with exhaustion and the lingering tension of battle, nursed their machines across the North Sea, the cold, gray expanse offering little comfort until the first glimpse of the English coast. The sheer relief, a wave almost physical in its intensity, washed over them, momentarily eclipsing the fatigue and the haunting images of the inferno they had left behind. Touchdown was often violent, a jarring testament to damaged landing gear or flattened tires. Ground crews, bundled against the early morning chill, stood ready, their breath misting in the air, their anxiety palpable until each bomber was safely down. The immediate rush was to refuel, rearm, and assess the damage. But for the airmen, the first stop was the debriefing room. Hot tea and stronger spirits were offered, but the stories poured out first. The intensity of the flak, the relentless searchlights, the darting shadows of night fighters. The precise moment the bombs left the racks and the city below erupted in flame and smoke. Casualties were quietly tallied. The empty seats at the breakfast table, a stark, unspoken reminder of those who would not return. For the survivors, a profound sense of shared experience, of having looked into the abyss and pulled back, bound them together in an unbreakable fraternity. Their testimony, raw and immediate, would be meticulously pieced together by intelligence officers, forming a clearer picture of the raid's effectiveness and the enemy's response. Miles away amidst the smoldering ruins of Berlin, the immediate aftermath was a landscape of chaos and despair. Rescue efforts were underway, hampered by blocked streets and shattered infrastructure. Fire brigades battled infernos that raged unchecked, while the scale of destruction was slowly compreed. The psychological impact on the German populace was immense. Goebbels' propaganda machine worked tirelessly to downplay the damage, but the truth was undeniable. The heart of the Third Reich was vulnerable. The air raid sirens, once a routine annoyance, now signaled potential devastation, breeding a constant undercurrent of fear and uncertainty. The myth of an impregnable German homeland had been shattered, replaced by the grim reality of a war brought directly to their doorsteps. Back in England, despite the inevitable losses, the success of the raid underscored the Allies' unyielding resolve. Commanders, poring over damage assessment photos and debriefing reports, saw not just destruction, but a tangible shift in the strategic calculus. Each sortie, fraught with such peril, was a calculated blow against the enemy's industrial capacity and morale. The aircraft, refined through countless trials and tribulations, proved its mettle as a formidable instrument of strategic power. This wasn't merely about destroying factories or railway yards. It was about systematically dismantling the enemy's ability and will to fight. The lessons learned from the raid on Berlin, from tactical adjustments to target prioritization, were immediately incorporated into future operations, hardening the resolve to press on, no matter the cost. The human cost was always immense. Young men, often barely out of their teens, faced terror nightly, their lives measured in flight hours and successful returns. Yet in their courage, in their unwavering commitment to the mission, lay the true triumph. They were not merely pilots, navigators, bomb aimers, or gunners. They were agents of change, pushing the boundaries of aerial warfare, carving out a new chapter in military history. The raid on Berlin, executed by these brave airmen and their remarkable aircraft, symbolized a turning point. It was a clear declaration that no fortress was unassailable, no enemy capital immune. It demonstrated the profound and often brutal efficacy of strategic bombing, a concept that would forever alter the nature of conflict. The legacy of those missions is complex, shadowed by the destruction they wrought, yet illuminated by the defiant courage they embodied. It is a testament to the ingenuity and the immense sacrifice required to wage a war for freedom. The aircraft, once a cutting-edge weapon, now stands as a powerful symbol of an era defined by unwavering determination against tyranny. Its ghostly silhouette, seen by terrified Berliners and grateful countrymen alike, remains a poignant reminder of the relentless pursuit of victory and the profound, enduring cost of that pursuit. It is a story etched into the very fabric of our shared history, a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for both destruction and extraordinary valor. This capacity, so terrifyingly demonstrated over Berlin's darkened streets, forged a legacy far beyond the physical damage inflicted. The immediate impact of those first raids, carried out by this exceptional aircraft, was not measured solely in shattered glass and broken bricks. It was a psychological tremor, a defiant declaration echoing through the very heart of the Third Reich. It shattered the illusion of an impregnable fortress, bringing the brutal reality of total war directly to the aggressor's doorstep. For the Allies, these missions were a vital testament to their reach and resolve, a much-needed morale booster in grim times. For the German High Command, and indeed for the ordinary citizens cowering below, they marked a chilling escalation, a harbinger of the storm that was yet to come. This specific aircraft, the unsung hero of those pioneering sorties, was more than just a machine. It was the embodiment of wartime ingenuity, a technological spearhead against an ideological darkness. Its designers, engineers, and factory workers poured their skill and dedication into every rivet, every engine, every system, creating a weapon that could penetrate deep into enemy territory, carrying the fight directly to the source of aggression. Its robust construction, impressive range, and formidable payload capability were not merely specifications on a blueprint. They were the attributes that enabled the impossible, that transformed strategic aspiration into terrifying reality. It represented a relentless arms race, a desperate sprint where innovation became synonymous with survival. Yet, to dwell solely on the machine is to miss the beating heart of this narrative, the people. The pilots who strapped themselves into its cramped cockpits, often barely out of their teens, faced a crucible of fire and ice. They contended with freezing temperatures, debilitating fatigue, the blinding searchlights, the murderous flak, and the ever-present threat of enemy fighters. Each mission was a dance with death, a test of nerves and skill under unimaginable pressure. Their courage was not a singular burst of heroism, but a sustained, grinding resolve. Mission after perilous mission, knowing full well the devastating statistics that governed their survival. And for every pilot in the sky, there were dozens on the ground, the dedicated mechanics, armorers, navigators, and bomb aimers, whose meticulous work ensured these complex machines took flight. Their unsung efforts, often performed in harsh conditions, were just as vital, a quiet testament to a collective dedication to the cause of freedom. The ghostly silhouette of this aircraft, as it traversed the moonlit skies above a city plunged into darkness, remains a potent symbol. For those on the ground, it was a terrifying specter of doom, the physical manifestation of retribution. For those who sent it, and for the nations it represented, it was a beacon of hope, a tangible expression of unwavering determination to overcome tyranny. Today, decades removed from the roar of its engines and the thud of its bombs, it stands as a silent educator. Its metallic skin, weathered by time, holds the echoes of those distant nights, whispering tales of incredible courage and profound sacrifice. It is a material link to an era that irrevocably shaped our modern world. The enduring legacy of these early Berlin raids and the aircraft that made them possible extends far beyond their immediate military objectives. They laid the groundwork for the strategic bombing campaigns that would define aerial warfare for the rest of the conflict and influence military doctrine for generations. More profoundly, they serve as an enduring testament to the collective will of free nations to stand united against aggression. They remind us of the immense human cost of conflict, the sacrifices demanded, and the devastating consequences of ideological extremism. But they also illuminate humanity's incredible capacity for resilience, ingenuity, and the relentless pursuit of justice. In reflecting upon this chapter of history, we are not merely recounting events. We are engaging with the very essence of human experience under duress. The untold stories embedded within the cold metal of this aircraft, within the faded photographs of its crews, within the scarred landscapes of Berlin, are not confined to the past. They resonate with timeless relevance, urging us to remember, to learn, and to strive for a future where such extreme measures are never again necessary. The courage displayed by those who flew these formidable machines, the terror experienced by those below, and the profound historical ripples of those first raids on Berlin continue to echo across time. They compel us to ponder the nature of war, the fragility of peace, and the immeasurable value of freedom. The skies above Berlin, once filled with the drone of engines and the flash of explosions, now lie quiet. But the lessons carried by those aircraft and the brave souls who piloted them fly on, eternal guardians of memory.